Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Some of you who have watched my other vlogs with regards to me finding out about the real me might be tuning in to find out what my Teams meeting was about. And I did say I would come back to you after the Teams meeting, but I thought then I would wait until I got the documents through rather than me trying to rely on my cotton wool brain. So this arrived a couple of days ago. Okay. And in it is all the documentation with regards to my adoption. It makes for interesting reading. Some of it I do question because the timelines don't add up, if that makes sense. So I will read to you the overview that my support worker put together for me. It's an easier way of sorting this. Okay, I'll get those out first. So I will read this. I'll have to just put my glasses on. I've got drinks as well because I've got an itchy throat. So apologies now if I have to keep having a drink. Okay. So it says, Dear Nicola, the following letter is a brief summary of events that led to your adoption. The information has been taken from records held by the Adoption in Merseyside Regional Adoption Agency. That's Liverpool. You may find that the language used and prevailing values expressed reflect the period when documents were written and might not be acceptable today. That is very true. It is also very likely that the adoption workers and other professionals involved in your adoption may not have expected that you would ever read their records. Some of the language used in your files can be seen as prejudicial and is often harsh, judgmental, and abrupt. This in no way reflects the thoughts and views of those preparing this file. Okay. So that was just to make me aware that the terminology used back in the 60s is not terminology you would use in adoption in today's society, and probably in today's thought process for adoption, you would have more agencies involved. There would be better paper trails and everything for the child to then come back to, and a lot of this would be a lot easier for them to get. Okay, it says, you were born Tracy Ann, and I'm not going to start mentioning surnames. On one document, your name is hyphenated, but on on the paperwork that the Adoption Council and Welfare Council, they haven't hyphenated. However, my birth mother did. Okay. So you were born Tracy Ann on 13th June 1967 at St Catherine's Maternity Home in Southport. It appears you were full term as your expected due date is recorded as 2nd of June. You weighed 6 pounds 8 ounces and are described as having dark hair. Your birth is recorded as normal and you were entirely bottle fed. That was a surprise to me because I automatically thought babies would have been bottle fed if they were up for adoption. But I was told by my support worker, no, they could have breastfed if they wanted to, or they could have done a mixture. Okay. Your birth mother was called Vivian Jane, although in most correspondence she signs her name as Jane, and at the time of your birth she was 21 years old and living on a certain street in Southport. I won't mention that street. Her home address was in Colwall. Jane is described as having light brown hair, green eyes, and being 5 feet inches, and being very matter of fact, an attractive looking, well spoken girl, and neat. It's not me. She enjoyed water skiing, reading, sewing, and knitting, and her nationality is described as British. Jane attended grammar school until the age of 15, when she left before taking her O-levels, at the same time as leaving home due to family trouble. She went to Solihull Further Education College and then became a cashier at a hotel for 4 months before starting at the Palace Hotel as a trainee receptionist, worked through the departments and ended up as catering manager. So I've since found out, doing a bit of research into the Palace Hotel in Southport, this was a huge, huge hotel, and it was reported to have 1,000 rooms. That's not 1,000 bedrooms. It had 1,000 rooms. So it had a big ballroom, it had several dining rooms, tea rooms, breakfast rooms, and other kind of rooms. Bearing in mind that some of the rooms wouldn't have been what you expect these days, as in ensuite. There would have been separate bathrooms and toilets. Okay, I'll get back to this now. Jane's father was employed as a regional manager for office equipment. Her mother was employed in market research, and she had a 17-year-old brother and an 8-year-old sister. From the age of 17, Vivian lived on her own, though it is recorded she still goes home and relationship is better since they live apart. Okay. I have found out, doing a bit more research, I found out the names of her brother and sister. Okay. Next bit, I was never thought I would find this out. Okay, so it says, my birth father was thought to be called Anthony. I won't say the surname. And he was 24 at the time of your birth and also living in Southport. Anthony was employed as a painter and decorator. His nationality was British and his religion described as Church of England. Jane described Anthony as having brown hair, green eyes, being 5 feet 7 inches and clever, and it is thought he probably attended grammar school also. Anthony's hobbies include surfing, reading, swimming and athletics. At the time of my birth, Anthony was married. So I did some research again, and I can't find any date of when he got married, because he wasn't married supposedly he wasn't married at the conception. Jane and Anthony lived in flats in the same house. At the time of my birth, Jane shared that Anthony did not know about the baby and shared, we were to have been married, but it fell through and he married someone else. In the handwritten notes that is in the pack, in the case notes, it's recorded that Jane said She didn't want to spoil his marriage, and since finishing with her, he has married a friend of hers. It's a quick relationship by their age standards. Jane went to see a welfare worker called, I won't go into her name, Miss J. Burrows, in the early April to talk about the possibility of adoption. Jane did not want her parents to know about her pregnancy, although she shared that she felt they would stand by her. Jane shared that she does not want to upset them and to cause them any embarrassment. She feels that if she told the parents, the story might get round to the relatives and disgrace the family. She further shared, I feel it would be best for the child because I work such odd hours. I wanted to have the love of a good mother and father and a good home. If I kept her, she would not be able to have the best of everything. Following your birth, you remained in Jane's care until the 3rd of July, when you were almost 1 month old, and then moved to the care of a Mrs. Kirkham, who was a foster mother living in Lancashire. Now, we don't know if Jane was with me at that point or if she'd gone back to where she was living and gone back to work. Or what. So that was a new one for us. Yeah. The Lancashire and Cheshire Child Adoption Council made arrangements for your adoption, and you'll see a letter in your file dated 19th of July written to your parents, making arrangements for them to come for baby in Liverpool on the 26th of July. At the same time, arrangements were also being made with Jane for the same day and time, asking her to arrange for baby to be there. Although there are no details recorded of this day, it appears that this was the first time I met my parents, which was different to how they told me they got me. They told me they'd had a choice of 2 babies that they saw. So to just be presented with, we've got this baby for you, this is it, here you go, whether you like it or not. Yeah. Bizarre. It also appears that there was some contact between Jane and my parents. As Jane, she met my dad. He did the handover. As Jane wrote in a letter dated 3rd of August, I must say that I could not have found better ones, brackets parents, if I had searched for years. They were really charming, and I am quite confident they will really love and look after her properly. From this time, you remained in the care of your parents, and on 1st of August, an update letter to Jane records they are absolutely delighted with her and love her very much indeed. Her brother Simon, although it's put little brother, he was bigger, is always in attendance and loves his little sister. Shame he doesn't anymore, but, you know, hey. He should have only ever been an only child. Adoption practices have changed greatly over the years, and the changes in caregivers' stroke moves that you experienced in your first few weeks of life would now be planned with a great deal more thought and sensitivity. When you were an infant, the impact of early separation and loss was not understood in the same way that it is today. Yeah, I agree with that. Because over the last 2 or 3 years, and going through what I've gone through mentally, I have a lot of what I'm feeling can be stemmed back to the adoption, because it's abandonment issues. And it's not a nice feeling. On the 16th of November 1967 at Blackpool Juvenile Court, your adoption order was made and your name was legally changed to Nicola. Although I never answered to it. I go by the name of Nikki. There is a letter from my parents written shortly after this time expressing Nicola is now our legally adopted daughter and a lovely little girl she is. I hope this letter has helped you understand a little more about the events that led up to your adoption, and that's from my support worker. And so we'd gone through that in the conversation, and then we started to go through some of the other paperwork. So there was the application form. And some other bits and pieces. So one of the pieces of information I probably found the most interesting was not the application form. I'll tell you what, how times have changed. One of the parts on the medical certificate from when I was born, and it was, bear in mind, this was done, I think, when I was 9 days old. Part of it says, have you any reason to believe from your physical examination or from other sources of information that there is any element of foreign hereditary, such as Latin, Teutonic, Slavonic, Indian, Oriental, or coloured in the child's family history? I don't know if that would be allowed these days, that kind of question. No. Anyway, I'm not going to go through that anyway. So, during Jane's time at the home, they wrote notes, and it's just all handwritten, and it's typical old-fashioned writing, which I do like. So, what they do is they make notes if she ever disclosed anything when they were just generally chatting, and then they would fill these bits in, so there's little bits added everywhere. So it's got her name, Jane, and the address. It's baby girl, born 13th of June, that's me, at St Catherine's. Baby now staying with Jane until the 3rd of July, and then going to foster mother. And that was arranged through moral welfare, school and jobs. So she went to grammar school, but she left at 15, as we said in that letter. She went to technical college, and it's other stuff that was in that letter. And then it goes into a bit more detail about her brother. So he went to public school in Taunton, and he then went on for training on radar with the RRI. And then she had a sister who was aged 8. So she would have been 30. Jane would have been 13 when her sister was born. And then she obviously left home 2 years later. I hope they managed to get some kind of relationship back together when the child was growing up, because that would have been an awkward one, I would have thought. I won't mention their names because that would... I still don't know yet what I'm going to do with the information. So when they talk a lot about my birth father, they call him a putative PF, putative father. So it's along the lines of reported, or, you know, the probability, you know, of it. So it's doubtful whether PF knows about baby. He's married since. It's, when I've done a bit of research, they both had green eyes. I haven't. I've got blue eyes, and that was a 24% chance of that happening. So that was quite... There's another bit that says something. It should be on this form. Yes, it's on the next page. Okay, so okay, so it's carried on working in Southport, but she fancied running a coffee bar. She was very matter of fact, apparently. So she's lived on her own since she was 17. She's still... I know when I've done research on her, she got married in September of 1970. It's great, the internet, from what you can find out. So yeah, I found that out. And I know who she married. Not personally, but I know the name. And that's as far as I can get with that. So I don't know if they were still married or they got divorced or what. This sentence does make me wonder. Has obviously had lots of boyfriends, but assures me this is the PF and the PF's doesn't want to spoil his marriage. So he could, without DNA test, we wouldn't know for sure if he was. We've only got her word for it. If he's 24, if he was 24, he will be 79 now. And 78, 79. So, chances of him being still alive are slim. As far as I can find out on the internet, Jane is still alive. Okay. There's some more paperwork. Right, one letter I wanted to share with you. Yeah, let's show that. Is a letter from Southport Moral Welfare Committee. I'm not going to say the whole letter because a lot of it is duplication of what I've just told you. I'll go to the second to last paragraph. No, I'll do. Jane came to see me this week after being led on a wild goose chase by the GP, who said he could arrange the adoption, etc. She's a neat and attractive girl, but with a rather blasé attitude towards this pregnancy. Okay, go to the next part, the second to the last paragraph. Jane feels that she cannot offer anything to this baby and would therefore like to have it adopted. I had the impression that she feels that everything will go through without a hitch and that it is so easy to solve a problem of this nature. Yeah, I'm a problem. This attitude may, however, be a cover for the insecurity she feels at the moment. But if she's very matter of fact, I don't see the insecurity. Just me? I don't know. She seems to have very few friends, and I expect she feels very lonely. This is playing devil's advocate. This is probably, she was in the hospitality industry. If she was in catering, she would have worked very unusual hours. She would have put in long hours because back then they didn't have like a 37.5-hour week. They worked way more than that. And probably only have a few hours off in between shifts, especially in the hotel. She'd have been in for breakfast, she'd have been in for lunch, she'd have been in for evening meal. And that would have been, of course, over several days. So yes, that would have been, I completely get that. I've worked in a hotel. I was trained as a hotel receptionist, which was what she trained as. So yeah. Sorry. I also feel she's left-handed. Looking at her handwriting, it leans to the left, and mine does. A lot of left-handed people's writing leans to the left. It's very neat. She's written a letter thanking them for all their help. It says, the last paragraph on here, it says, thank you once again for all the trouble you have taken, and please assure her new parents that I will not, in capital letters and double underlined, change my mind. So she really didn't want me. I think I was probably 9 months of something she just wanted to get through and get out at the other side. I may be wrong. Don't know. And the rest is just other bits of documentation. There's a letter that my dad's written back to this Mrs. Bellis, who was from the adoption agency, at the beginning of December of that year, saying you probably already know Nicola is now our legally adopted daughter. I'm not a bit of trouble, and just as pleasant as Simon was when he was a baby. Yeah, shame that didn't last. Apparently I was already trying to crawl at 6 months. He's enclosed a cheque for it in guineas. Oh, the old currency, I remember it. Who else remembers the old currency? Yes. That is all really I can say. I've got 2 forms I can fill in if I have a mind to. One is to apply for my original birth certificate to see how my name does read on it, whether it's hyphenated or not. The other form is to do, it's like a letter of, you apply to put this letter in like a central database, and if Jane has already done the same thing, they will contact me back saying that there is a link, and they will ask me if I want the details. And I assume that they will do the same to her. If she's not, then, I mean, these are both services I have to pay for. If not, my letter just sits in there on the off chance that she wants to make contact. Other than that, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I do know that if I do want to take it further, I can't leave it too long. Seeing all this paperwork, seeing all this information has really drawn on my emotions beyond what anything that, well, apart from having children, when you first have those and they're put into your arms for the first time. Yeah, nothing I ever thought I would do, searching for this. But I need answers, and I'd locked far too much information away in my brain that I haven't dealt with. Things that had gone on whilst I was a teenager into my 20s. That shouldn't have happened. To other things. So maybe I will talk about those one day, but I don't think I will. I would really, really appreciate some comments in the boxes below. Have you been through anything like this? Have you got any advice? Please give my channel a like, a subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up, just so I know that people are watching it. Or I need 35 minutes at least getting to the end of it. Sorry it's taking so long, because I keep digressing. Thank you very much for watching if you've got to the end of this. I hope it wasn't too boring. And I will vlog again if I get any information back from the birth certificate or the letter of content, or whatever it's called, intent. Thank you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.